You know those playground domes? How about the Epcot ball? Have you ever wondered how they managed to create a perfect sphere out of flat shapes? Are there limits to making these sphere-like objects? What are these sphere-like objects even called? All good questions, and to answer them today we're going to talk about regular spherical polyhedra. Now, at first glance, the Epcot ball and playground equipment are both made out of triangles. This is called a geodesic sphere, one type of spherical polyhedron, and it's commonly used in architecture, where triangles are prioritized because, as we all know, triangles are the strongest structure. However, triangles may be difficult to analyze, and there's an easier way to explain why they are arranged the way they are. There's a pattern here. Can you find it? The pattern is that all the triangles are just subdivided pentagons and hexagons. In fact, every geodesic sphere, triangles, can be divided into these buckyballs, penta and hexagons, which are another type of spherical polyhedra that kind of looks like a soccer ball. There's a reason that we need both pentagons and hexagons to make a sphere. It all has to do with how each shape fits together. Hexagons, when you lay them down side by side, can tile the plane, meaning that they fit together perfectly, 3 to each vertex. This makes for a bad sphere though, like when you try to wrap a piece of paper around a ball. You'll always have some irregularities because you're trying to bend something that doesn't want to be bent. Pentagons, on the other hand, do not tile the plane. In order to have 3 at each vertex, there has to be some curvature into the third dimension. So pentagons are the thing that gives curvature to our shape. And here we find our first sphere. 12 pentagons all fitted together to make one buckyball. To answer things for sure, we're going to turn to math.
Euler proved that for any regular polyhedron, the number of faces plus the number of vertices minus the number of edges is always 2. To use this formula, we can set p to be the number of pentagons we want and h to be the number of hexagons. The number of faces will be the number of pentagons plus hexagons. The number of vertices will be 5 times the number of pentagons plus 6 times the number of hexagons all over 3 because each vertex is shared by exactly 3 faces. Similarly, the number of edges will be 5 times the number of pentagons plus 6 times the number of hexagons all over 2. Plugging these numbers into our equation, we can do some algebraic simplification. Surprisingly, the h's cancel and we are left with
P equals 12. This reaffirms what we were talking about earlier. The pentagons do in fact determine the curvature, and hexagons can just be shoved in there at will, because the number needed to make a regular polyhedron is arbitrary. And besides that, because we want it to be a sphere, we want it to have rotational symmetry, so it's not lopsided when you rotate the polyhedron. Now we can do this using the pentagons. We can start with the smallest buckyball, which has no hexagons, and we can add a ring of hexagons around each pentagon, and then another ring around that ring, and then keep going until you have a buckyball that's the size that you want it to be. And then, after that, you can just replace the hexagons and pentagons with triangles, making it geodesic, and bam, you've got a sphere any size you want made out of shapes. And hey, next time you're crawling all over one of these, just remember, you're doing some real hands-on applied math.